A lark and her momster are coming your way. Gonna tell it how it is, so won't you join us today? Hi.
Hi.
And welcome back
Yeah.
to another day
Yes.
in the shitstorm of a neighborhood.
Oh, our neighborhood's not the shitstorm.
No, but life is.
Well, the country is.
That's true.
Yeah. Welcome to an episode that we're calling
A lark and her momster.
No,
Sorry,
that's the podcast.
That is the podcast.
The
It's not
podcast.
the episode name.
The episode is The Kids Are Not All Right.
Kids are not, because the kids are not all right.
Well, and I have to say that title came from the fact we're going to talk about things that are traumatizing. You were not a kid when you watched that movie,
No,
though.
I was very much an adult. Well, no, I was a teenage. I was a teen adult. I was a teen adult, adult teen. I was 19.
Yeah.
I was still in college. I wasn't yet 21.
No.
I couldn't drink yet.
If you were 19, you were not yet 21.
No, but I could drink in England, but I couldn't drink at the time, and I wish I could have, because that would have been a great moment to have been able to drink.
We were at your gummies. You could have totally had a glass of wine.
Not around the people we were around, who the only time you could have had wine was if it was the blood of Christ. So
Wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. Okay.
Do you not remember when we all held hands and then I accidentally grabbed someone's hand and it was cold and I said, Jesus Christ! And then I was looked at as though I was the spawn of Satan. So, because it was, yeah. So, anyway, we rented this movie called
The Kids Are All Right.
The Kids Are All Right. Well, after we watched that movie, nobody was all right. So because we watched the movie with a bunch of and here's the thing. I have no problem if you're a conservative. That's fine. I have no problem. I'm going to say this. I have no problem if you just happen to be Republican, as long as your moral values are those of good people. But we were watching it with some conservatives who did not align with some things that were in that movie, and were very uncomfortable watching that movie with us.
The AKA gay sex.
all of it, yeah. And
anyway,
it didn't bother us, but it was fun watching it with your entire family / the part of the family that you're not blood related to, thank God, that didn't like it.
So, speaking of wine,
we're drinking it.
We're drinking it today.
Because you know what? It's really funny. I was watching something on TikTok, Instagram, which is basically the same thing to me. And there's a guy, and he's really funny because he talks about boomers, zennials, millennials, and he goes through all of them. And there's a character, and it's like Gen Z, and they're like, why do you guys drink? And then it's funny because we're talking about this, and the millennial and the boomers are like, well, because we've lived through all this fucking trauma, all you can do is drink it. Drink through it.
Yep, amen.
Amen.
So tonight...
So this is why we drink.
We're drinking Zonin Prosecco.
Zonin.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it.
It is pretty good. It's not too bad. I like it.
It is a wine that's crafted in the lush landscape of northern Italy.
I'm sorry, is that supposed to be Italy?
Italy.
You just said it like Italy?
Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, that's what Stacy says. She says we're going to Italy.
Stacy, we might be.
We may all be living in Italy.
Soon, yes.
Anyway, it's crafted by the Zonin family, and they have been winemakers for over 200 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I bet they're really tired. Being 200's really old.
Do they need us to come over and work for them?
I think they need us to come stomp the grapes.
I'll do it.
Yep. Anyway, this particular Prosecco is aromatic and crisp with flavors of white peach, golden apple, and fresh citrus.
I can taste it.
And the wine is sparkly with a stylish and elegant panache.
It's panache. It could be a little more sparkly in my
humble opinion. Yeah.
But I like
So-
the sparkliness. But I've also been drinking a lot of ginger ale, so I'm especially into the sparkliness.
Yes, well, I had something exciting happen today. Can I share? Can I share? Can I?
Does it have to do with ginger ale?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
Okay.
no. I got a text.
Oh, woo!
I got a text, and it's from my quasi-cousin, Harry. But I didn't know it was from Harry because I haven't talked to him since...
Are they royalty?
Yurgami, no.
Darn.
Sadly, no. But I had not spoken to them since Yurgami died.
Oh.
And he and his brother, his older brother, John, are the reason I don't like sneaks.
Oh my god, are they the ones who chase you around with
Yeah.
a snake and they traumatize you for the rest of your life? And then I had to leave a date once because you swore you saw a snake that wasn't there in the house, but you swore that you saw it. And then that date
It was
night
there.
didn't work out because I was like, I'm so sorry. My mom swears she saw a snake, but then I came home and we couldn't find it at all.
It's because it had gone back out.
Sure.
Yeah, it was here. I
Harry,
promise.
it's your fault.
Anyway, he texted and he said they've been listening to the podcast.
Thanks, Harry.
And he had just listened to episode 28. So,
Aw, shout out to Harry.
yeah, my cousin Harry. We spent a lot of time growing up. I spent as much time with Harry and John as I did with Miles.
Aw, Harry, thanks for listening. We appreciate you. I don't know if I've met you, so.
You have. You were little.
Oh, well.
Yeah, yeah.
Well-
And John, his older brother, when we lived in Chattanooga, went with me Thanksgiving morning, the Friday after Thanksgiving, to go get your very first television set
Oh, that's so nice of
at
you guys.
4 a.m.
Oh,
So
I appreciate you, but so much trauma has happened to me since
that was
then.
John, not Harry.
Okay, I'm just letting you know, Harry and John, that maybe less John, but more so for Harry. If I don't remember you, please don't hate me. My Furby has since talked to me in my life, and trauma has happened. So people have since left my brain,
Yeah.
and trauma has happened, which is what this episode is about. The kids are not all right, including my 34-year-old self that was once a kid, still is a kid sometimes, because I look at myself and I don't see a 34-year-old. Which, can I just say, when I went to my post-op, I got I loved going to my post-op. Do you know why?
Because they told you didn't look your age.
Oh my God. My nurse was like, oh, you're only 34?
You're only 34?
And I said, yeah. And she goes, you don't look 34 at all.
Then she wouldn't have said you're only 34.
Yeah, she would have.
No, because if you're only 34, then it means that you look older.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you're only 34? Oh, you're.
Oh, sorry. Then
Yes,
she said something else. She's like, oh, you're 34? And I said, yeah. And she goes, you don't look 34. And I was like, I don't know how to. I was like, I don't know. And she goes, oh, you look much younger. And then, so I'm laying, on the table and they're looking at me all nude. And my surgeon's like pressing on all over my little
Surgical spots.
Yeah, surgical spots were, and she's showing the what are they called that help they're not nurse practitioners, they're newbies, but they have to
Residents?
sure, those. She's showing them these spots on me, and she goes, and he's concerned because he's like whispering in her ear, and she goes, oh no, the reason that's raised is because well, she's thin and healthy.
No.
And
because most of their patients who have the surgery you have are much older.
Right.
When we were in
And I
the
was like-
surgical waiting room, I was like, oh my gosh.
I was like, I want to come here all the time. Y'all make me feel so good. Thanks. Anyway, that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about trauma, which we have. And
I will tell you, when I was growing up, we didn't have...
no, you guys had
It
issues.
wasn't... I mean, things happened.
You didn't have pockets of peril.
No, we didn't have pockets of peril. And I can remember... I mean, we used to go, speaking of Harry, we used to go horseback riding, and we'd go down the road in somebody else's farm. And I mean, we just would go off as kids. When I was...
Which still probably wasn't safe, but...
Well, we didn't have cell phones, and we would go out and we'd play what's called kick the can. And then I never got to, I will say, in New Orleans on Airline Highway we used to call it up front. We're going to go up front. Were these stores, and the other kids in my neighborhood would ride their bikes up front. Your Gami wouldn't let me ride because she was worried about the traffic. She wasn't worried about kidnapping, which might have been much more valid.
Still happen, because if you listen to crime podcasts now, like, we are finding bodies upon bodies that
yes. So
were a thing in the 70s and 80s, and they're still, cold cases are a thing.
Yes, but she didn't let me go do that. But we would stay out until late.
And it's really interesting, because even when I was a kid, I would go play in the woods with friends. I would go play at other people's houses, and as long as you knew whose house I was, I didn't have a cell phone as a kid. I didn't have tablets as a kid. Yeah, we had TV, but...
No, but I knew where you were.
Yeah, sometimes.
I didn't know you were playing in woods.
Well, yeah, my grandparents' woods, and then I would have friends.
What woods?
Yeah, like in the backwoods in Chattanooga and
in
Ringgold, Georgia, and... Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Yeah, Gami and Granddad.
In the woods?
Yes! Oh my gosh, I used to go hang out with friends.
I could have gotten a little higher with my woods.
A little bit. I would go hang out with friends of theirs that I don't necessarily know that you knew about.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, there are people that I remember that I'm like, I remember being friends with them and going to their houses and just being like, okay, I'll go ride my bike back later by myself to someone back home, or back to my grandparents' house. And
what bike?
Yeah, I had a bike. It got me in Granddad's house, and I would go down, and I had a friend that lived down my grandfather's hill to the left, down a ways. I would go by myself.
The pink house?
Yes, down the pink house. And it was in this little cul-de-sac.
It was a cul-de-sac, that's why. Yeah.
And but still, by myself, I was probably like less than 10. You know what I mean?
Well, you were definitely less than 10 because we moved when you were 9.
Right, so definitely less than 10, but still... Didn't have a phone.
Less than 9.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, didn't have a phone. And as long as I was home by the time I was supposed to be home, everything was fine. You know what I mean?
I do.
Can't do that now. So
no, I can't imagine being a kid right now.
No.
And
I can't imagine being an adult right now, so I really can't imagine being a kid right now.
It's not safe to go to school. It's not safe to go to the mall or the movie theater. And it's scary for kids to listen to what's happening in the news. I think back to when I was growing up, again, we might have had bad things happen, but it wasn't in mass in our schools or our churches or at festivals.
Oh, God, no.
It just wasn't like that.
Well, even now, I kid you not, like I was telling Adam, we'll go to a movie theater, and it is the weirdest thing that this is something that sticks in my mind. But I look around the movie theater, right? Because of things that have happened in movie theaters.
Oh, I always know where the exits are.
And I know where the exits are. Yeah. I look at people and I'm like, do they have a backpack? What do they look like? I'm trying to figure out these people's psychology. Like, I don't trust anybody these days.
You and I went to the movie and I did the same thing and you got mad at me. You were like, don't put that energy out there.
Well, I don't want you to verbally put it out there. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah. It's, and there's so much that we know in the world of research about how childhood trauma alters the development of children's brains. Yeah. And it specifically impacts areas related to emotion and emotional regulation, to memory, our stress responses, and all of that leads to potential issues with learning, the social interaction that kids have, and their mental health.
Yeah.
Because they go...
Or physical health even.
Well, exactly. It's like when things happen, they're living in a state of chronic brain activity around the fight, flight, or freeze response.
Yeah.
And that changes the regions in the brain that control your memory and your fight or flight, like the hippocampus and the amygdala. Mm-hmm. And not only does it make them more sensitive to those perceived threats, even in safe situations.
Oh, yeah.
That level of sensitivity is there. But because the synapses are firing in those areas, the prefrontal cortex, that kind of rational area of the brain, doesn't grow at the same rate.
Right.
And so it's like it's not as developed. So if you look at PET scans of children's brains when they've been abused or neglected or just exposed to a lot of trauma, it's just really sad because those critical parts of their brains don't light up.
No.
Yeah. So it's really, and there's so much research right now around anxiety and learning.
Oh my God, big time.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I feel like, especially in schools, there's so much pressure put on kids to meet these goals and meet these expectations when you have no idea what's going on at home, and people don't really try to understand, like, what's little Timmy or little Sally dealing with at home. You know, there's only so much that the teachers can do. There's only so many questions that they can ask until, you know.
Well, and it's not just the home situations. They're dealing with that. They have to bring gun-proof backpacks to school.
Or go through metal detectors.
They have to go through, and you remember this because I didn't know that you went through this, but remember what happened when you were at CSAS?
So I went to a school. I was going to put their name in there because I didn't want to bring that on them. And I'm sure things are different now, but I did go to a school. I believe I was in first grade when this happened.
I think you were in second.
I can't remember. I was very young, very, very young. And I believe they did try to keep this from us, but...
It was after the Columbine shooting.
It was after the Columbine shooting. And I'm sure we all remember when they used to do drills, which I'm sorry, this still tickles me to this day, where we did the drills. It's like, oh my God, if there's a bomb, hide under your desk. If there's an earthquake, hide under your desk. I'm sorry. If there's a bomb... They didn't talk
about bombs back then.
Oh, no. We did. We had the active bomb drills that if you had a bomb or if you had a hurricane, you hid under your desk. I'm sorry. But if any of that shit ever happened and you hid under your desk, you're fucked. I don't care. That desk is going to collapse on you no matter what. But, sorry, we went into the outro of the song. But I'm just saying that...
Is that the universe telling us we need to hurry along?
It's not the universe telling us we need to hurry along.
Okay.
That was just misplaced in the fact that I don't know how to edit shit. Anyway, but I always thought... I was having a conversation with someone thinking, like, those desks weren't gonna do shit. Those desks are not gonna do a shit in an active shooter situation anyway. But anyway, so they wanted to do a reenactment of a live shooter situation to see what they would do should that happen, right?
After Columbine.
They did it in a really bad way because they wanted to make it as real as possible.
Which is not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
You just don't need to do it when kids can see it. Because
right.
I found out later that you
saw
it.
I don't think that they meant for us to see it. However, I think you need to be really careful because it was teenagers doing this, and teenagers are dumb. And so they...
Not all of them, but they...
These were. Don't know who you were, but y'all were stupid. But they did makeup for them that made the wounds look very real. They made the sounds very real. They made it, the scenes very real. And so...
Clearly it traumatized you.
It was horrendous.
Yeah.
They had some of the scenes outside look very real. And I just remember seeing this going, oh my God, what's happening? And I do remember they had to tell us none of this was real, but at the same time...
It still sticks with you.
It still sticks with you.
You're hearing the news and you're hearing about what happened at Columbine.
Right.
Even though we try to protect our kids, we don't realize that they're listening.
No, we see this. They're listening and they talk about it, you guys. Kids talk at school.
Yeah.
They hear the news that you have on. They hear what you talk about. That's a huge thing. Kids hear what the parents talk about.
And
they don't, but they do.
that anxiety, that intolerance of uncertainty, the fear of changes, the distress, that all underlies all of the emotions and the fear responses. And there's a lot of research out there. I pulled several. And of course, we deal with helping people understand how to break those intergenerational cycles of childhood trauma at work every day.
Which is just one tiny part of it.
Well, trauma is trauma for kids, regardless. Yeah. But what happens is, and we'll put the links for you guys around some of these research articles, but, things happen and kids hear about it and it causes them so much anxiety. When COVID and 2020, everything shut down, kids didn't understand that. There was a lot of fear. Parents were afraid. People were wearing masks. Kids weren't socializing. That creates a lot of trauma. When you think about some of the other things that have happened, I know for me, I was an adult and I can tell you exactly where I was.
Yeah.
When the Challenger exploded.
Yeah.
I was in Metairie, Louisiana. I was on West Esplanade Boulevard, and I was driving home from work. And I know exactly where I was.
Right.
And there was that emotional and physical response. And I also remember where I was when I learned about Columbine.
Right.
And, I think about where we are now, and we live right across from where the Covenant shooting happened.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And, my generation, we grew up with Columbine. We grew up with 9/11.
Yeah.
I remember I was with you that morning. We heard about it. We weren't sure if it was even real.
Right.
Right? We had to fact check. And I think at that time, too, my dad was working in not the World Trade Center, but a World Trade Center.
In New Orleans.
Well, we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know anything. And so going to school,
you didn't go to school that
I didn't
day.
go to school that day because we didn't know.
You didn't go to school that day or the next day?
Right, because we didn't know.
Well, I wasn't going to send you. School stayed open, but I wasn't sending you.
But even when I went to school, it was quiet. Everything was quiet because nobody knew how to process anything.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's gotten to the point, too, where I hate the fact that it's just, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he said it so well. We've gotten to the point where it's like, just another school shooting. Just another school shoot. Why?
Exactly.
Why is it just another school shooting? It shouldn't be. This should not be something that is now we are so desensitized to.
And science shows us that exposure to circumstances that produce that persistent fear and that chronic anxiety, they have lifelong consequences.
Y'all wonder why I don't want to leave my house.
It disrupts the developing architecture of the brain.
Yeah.
Changes children's brain, and it affects their DNA.
Yeah. And we have now we have something even worse. Not even worse, but we have something that is icing on the shit fuck cake of it all, of now kids who have parents being deported, or kids who are being deported.
And kids are terrified to go to school. I mean, they're
whether
afraid.
It's bullying, or whether it's when they get home, they're not going to have parents or siblings. Or
that someone's going to come into the school and take them away.
Right.
There's so much fear. And why is that fair to children?
It's not.
Why? You don't like something or someone, work around it, help them, find some common decency. But that's a whole nother topic.
First of all, if you don't like someone, that says way more about you than it does them.
Well, not always.
Actually, not always, because I don't like Trump, and that says way more about him than it does me. So,
but for those immigrant children, they can't control that they're not here legally. Although some of them have been born in this country. So technically, they are U.S. citizens. And they shouldn't be terrorized by adults. And,
No.
and right now there's so much going on that creates so much anxiety for kids. If they don't fund Head Start, if they don't,
Right.
if they pull funding for public education, how are those kids going to learn? I mean, as it is, we know that especially when young children experience serious fear triggering events, they learn to associate that fear with the context and the conditions that went along with it, and it affects their ability to learn.
Well, and I'm just going to say, I have friends who have kids who rely on things like Medicaid.
Yeah.
Who are now very fearful that they're not going to get the care that they need, and those kids are scared. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday her kid is scared that her kid is going to die because her kid knows that, has said, Mom, if we can't afford it,
Yeah.
I don't want you to be sad if I die. And that was heartbreaking to hear.
Yeah, it is. It's heartbreaking, and
No kid should live with that.
No child.
No child should live with that. And it is such a sick day and age that we live in, where this should be the time where kids are. I worked with kids for such a long time, and something I love about working with kids is the fact that their innocence and their purity just always brought that back to me. Their love for life, their joy for finding something cool and beautiful in every single day and sharing that with me. And, because we as adults, we go through life and we're bogged down by it, or we're, what's the word I'm looking for? Jaded by things that have happened to us. But kids, they find the smallest things just beautiful and wonderful. And now they can't. Because
they can. I mean,
they
the
can,
adults are
but-
trying to. I mean, I think adults are trying to protect them to the degree that the
they
adults
can.
can. But there are just some things that even as adults we won't have control over if,
Right.
in fact, the government chooses to do things that I think are just egregious under the auspices of saving money. And the reality is, it's not saving money. There is no proof that any of what's happening is actually saving us money.
No.
And what it is doing is making the wealthy wealthier.
Yeah.
So, we have a moral obligation to take care of, whether you're religious or not. There is a moral obligation as human beings. But if you are religious, whether it's through Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, if you study any of those, Buddhism, if you study any of those religions, there is a premise around taking care of others.
And I'm just going to say this, and some of y'all might not like this, and we might lose listeners, and I don't give a fuck if we do. But if you're going to force someone to have a kid, and you're not going to help them take care of that kid that you're going to force them to have,
well, and that's a whole other issue.
that's on you, buddy, because
it's really, really hard. We work with families, and it's really hard to get them the services they need,
right,
to help them, because they not only need the basic services, rent, utilities, food, to be able to pay for childcare so that the parent can work. But the way the system works is you can't get childcare vouchers unless you're currently working, but you can't get a job unless you have somebody to watch the child so you can go get the job. I mean, I can begin to start on how dysfunctional it is, but...
And if we're talking about generational trauma, right? You have... Mariska Hargitay, go watch Law & Order, you guys. There's a whole freaking, season about it. Mariska Hargitay has her own... I love her. Just Google Law & Order. There's a whole season about it. She talks about generational trauma, right? She is the daughter of a woman who was raped, And she has a lot of issues because, and so does her brother, because they are children of a woman who was raped, right? And so she fears her brother is going to be a rapist because that's what they come out of. So I think they have that right. But
check your facts. I'm not
entirely sure that's right. But anyway,
anyway.
But that's a thing. That's a thing. And if you force someone to have a child, right, that comes out of that kind of a situation, if that mom doesn't want to have that kid because they're afraid they can't raise that kid, or they don't want to raise that kid because of the trauma that it is instilled in them, you shouldn't force them to have to do that or deal with that trauma every single day. And how do you know that they're going to be able to take care of that kid in the way that they should take care of that kid? And oh my God, I could go on a ramble about this. But anyway.
So going back to what I was saying before you went on that tirade.
I'm sorry. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
If, in fact, women are going to have children when they're not prepared financially, emotionally, psychologically to have those children, we have to be able to have a safety net for those children. And to do that requires having the programs that provide those safety nets. Mm-hmm. And we already struggle around those programs. There's not enough resources.
Force them.
So, but at the end of the day, the kids are not all right. No. I mean, I found a Pew Research, this is from 2018, and things have gotten worse. We've had more school shootings since then.
Oh, yeah. 2018,
the majority of U.S. teens fear a shooting could happen at their school. And most of those kids' parents agree.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, 64% of girls in the U.S. in 2018 were fearful about a school shooting. 51% of boys, 57% of all teens.
Yeah.
And it gets worse when you are a teen of color. Mm-hmm. So, how can we expect kids, because they're still kids as teens, our brains don't stop developing till we're like 27. How can we expect them to go to school, to focus, to be able to be successful in terms of their academic requirements if we aren't creating a safe environment for them?
Well, and it goes so much deeper, right? Because here's the thing, right? We live in America. They're never going to take away the guns. And whatever.
Never say never.
No, but that's the thing, right?
I don't think they need to take away guns. They need to take away semi-automatic guns.
But
nobody needs a weapon of war.
They also need so many reforms to help, like mental health.
Oh my God, that's huge. And it's so expensive.
It is so expensive. It is hard to get. It is not in every community. And I think it is stigmatized beyond reason. I think we need to talk about it more. I think it needs to be a part. I mean, you can go into freaking Walmart, sign up for a gun. No one does a background check on you. Like, there are certain people that should not have guns. Yeah. I will readily admit that I am one of those people. I should never own a gun. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm A-okay with that because of my history. So there are people that should never own guns. And that is something that I think we need to be really careful as a society and look into and be better about.
I agree. I found a study that was done through Boston University on youth anxiety. Mm. And it says that the most common mental health disorder in the United States for adults is anxiety. Mm-hmm. And
which coincides with depression.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But that same level of anxiety has been increasing exponentially among our kids, and it just exacerbated during the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
And so we have a situation right now where kids are really struggling with so much anxiety. The kids are not all right.
Yeah.
And we need, as a society, to recognize that.
Yeah.
And just because they may appear okay,
and
doesn't mean that they are.
JFK Jr. sending us to camps and having us pick berries and milk cows ain't gonna do it, because we tried that for years. It didn't work out. We just all died of like typhoid and shit, so obviously that didn't work out.
So I guess what we can do today is just maybe
Drink.
We are going
and
to drink
disassociate a little bit.
Zone and Prosecco. Yes, we've been really trying to stay off the socials as much as we can.
I will say, stay informed. Try to get more than one resource. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Do not put...
And check your facts.
Check your facts. Yes.
Because there's so much propaganda and misinformation on both sides.
I realized there was misinformation. I said something this week and I got schooled because I was like, oh, that was misinformation. Thank you so much for letting me know that was not... Because I got all up in arms about something that wasn't true. And I was glad that I was schooled. Mm-hmm. And vice versa, I did it to somebody else. Because there is a lot of information out there that is trying to divide and create just fear-mongering. So please check your facts. Make sure that you are researching, getting the right data. Make sure you're getting the right information. Stop watching Fox News. And
well, there are several places that you can go to Snopes is always a good one.
Yeah, always.
There's another one. I'm blanking on what it's called right now.
Like Identifact? No. PolitiFact. PolitiFact's a good one.
Yeah. And so, again, just before you, regardless of which side you lean politically, find out the truth.
There's a great guy. I can't remember his name on Instagram. If you follow me, I do post a lot of his stuff. He is actually an independent voter, but he is brilliant. And he just tells the truth. He tells the truth. And no one is spared, but he is brilliant. He is ex-military, and he goes after Trump so much, and I love him so much. But he tells the truth. And
I think that's what's wrong with our country right now, is that we're hearing so much that's not true.
Right.
And people are believing it.
Yeah.
Believing it. And that hurts our kids.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does. It hurts the kids. Mm-hmm. And banning books hurts the kids.
Oh, banning books!
Changing history hurts the kids.
Yeah.
You know what? We're just going to go drink because the kids are not all right.
The kids are not all right. And at the end of the day, if you do have kids, stop making it about you. Stop making it about you. I know that this is a lot of what's going on in the world. We try to make about ourselves and what we think is right and what we believe is right. But look at your kids. Look at your kids. What is the world that you want to leave for them? What do you want to teach them? Something that I've always looked at is you can teach what you want them to believe. There are 2 words, right? 2 4-letter words that you can teach your kids. Love or hate. Kids aren't born knowing those 2 words, but they are taught them.
That's true. That's so true.
They are taught them.
And we can also teach them another 4-letter word. Hope.
Hope, yeah.
So we hope that you all learned something from this episode.
Yes.
We hope that if you don't agree with us, that you will feel free to share that with us. And if you do agree with us, that you will give us a shout out telling us that we're spot on. And we just hope that you will instill that love and that hope into any child.
Please do.
That you encounter, because the kids
need to be all right.
They need to be all right.
At the end of the day.
That's right.
Well, thank y'all for listening. We are sending all of our love out to all of you. We hope that in the future our kids are all right, because at the end of the day, that's what we need. And we really need our parks, our national parks, to be all right for them.
Amen.
So if you want to leave a better world for your kids, if you want your kids to be all right, start making a difference for them now.
And acknowledge global warming.
Yeah, fuck. For real, y'all.
All right.
All right. Until next time.
We're over and out.
We're over and out.
And Monster's going to go finish drinking her Zone and Prosecco in her Monster glass.
And I am going to go finish dissociating. Okay. Over and out.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.